All right, welcome to another YouTube Live. Like again, today we'll be covering BTC. We basically will be going over mainly the 4-hour and hour chart, a little bit looking on the daily, but because we cover the asset every single day, we're not really going to be going over the weekly and monthly chart because we already do that so often. So we'll just talk about the daily first, going on the Gemini exchange because we still haven't seen the next candle on the CME futures open. So we are looking for that gap. It's going to be even more significant because we are now around the $9,800 range, which is our lower level of the support zone. So just looking on the exchange right now, 98, let's say right around here. So that's where we could possibly be ending up opening, which would create a pretty significant gap for us to potentially fill, which would be a pretty bullish move. So we'll see how the gap opens tomorrow, or it might be today, I believe, but we'll assess the situation. No, it would be tomorrow. We'll assess the situation when we get to it, but for now, we're going to assess just the Gemini exchange because it's a 24-hour exchange. There is constantly new information getting updating the price, so we don't have any gaps within the market. So we'll just get our snip here real quick and just discuss yet again the overall structure that we see within the market, and then what we're looking for when we're seeing the price currently do and what we could be looking to see the price do in the future. So we have this big green rectangular box right here. This is representing our support zone, our demand zone, whatever it may be. It's where buyers are currently located because it's a zone of confluence, meaning we have two zones intersect coming together at a singular point, creating a higher dependability for us to be able to use to say this has a high probability of buyers within this area because we have not just one, which is this one right here, but we also have two zones where it comes together at a single point, which is called an area of confluence, and that's what's happening at that green rectangular zone right around here. We have the descending zone, which we talked about, as well as the horizontal zone. So then we are expecting to see a significant amount of buyers at this area, and we'll discuss that on the 4-hour chart. And also we are looking to see the price break above the zone, exactly like we saw, hold on the 4-hour daily. This is the daily, so it's a significant break of a key zone on the chart. And then what we're seeing is a pullback, and what we're ideally looking to see is a validation that there are buyers in this area. Once we get that validation, then we're looking to enter long before the price makes a next move to our key area of supply at around 11.5 to 12K, somewhere around there is going to be the next supply area. So that is the overall outlook of what we want for our trade, but we don't want to obviously enter just yet. We're now going to go talk about the 4-hour chart and what we see and what could kind of come out of what happened with the current situation. So let's get our snip. And also for people who are within the chat, we have 5 people watching right now. If you are having any questions, if you'd like to know more about what we're talking about, if you have really anything relevant that you have to ask, just drop it in the comments and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee and then I'll get on to the analysis. Ahoy. Welcome. All right, so let's talk about the 4-hour chart of BTC. We already talked about this zone of confluence where we have the previous descending resistance turning into a new level of support. That's going to be the first level of confluence. And then we have the horizontal zone here, previous level of resistance, new level of support. So we know that there are buyers, or we can have a high dependability, that there are buyers within this range. So we are looking for long still. We were thinking that we could have a pullback back to the zone, but the only situation we would need in order to be looking for shorts is if we have a completion of a double or a head and shoulders pattern, which would be either right here, where you have the left shoulder, the head, and then the right shoulder would need to come in retesting around this zone here. Let's just quickly check where it is. Around 10.1, let's say. we would need the price to come and retest this zone, and once we get the price to complete this zone, then we have the head and shoulders pattern. We would need to see the price make a lower low compared to what we've seen right here and right here. So once the market makes a structural lower low, then you could be looking at a potential lower high for the price to again hit a maybe descending zone. We'll see how the price action is structured when we get to that area, if we do, but that would be the first outcome that we would need to see before we even look for a short for the first head and shoulders. And then the larger head and shoulders would be the left shoulder right here, the head right here, and then the right shoulder right around here, and then the neckline would be around here, the $9,100 zone. So you got the left shoulder, you got the head, and then if you get the right shoulder here, and then potentially you draw a nice little trend line somewhere around there to connect the zone of sensitivity, like somewhere around there. I don't exactly know. Oops. But that's how the second head and shoulders would need to be structured in order for us to enter. So we got a pretty good zone of confluence there. If we do make a lower low and then we make a lower high, we also have these lower highs here. That could be a nice dependable area for a resistance to go down if we get it. Obviously, we'll see how it looks, but that is how the short side looks. But until we break this zone, unless we break this zone, I am looking for longs only, because we have our bias from the longer overall structure. We have a very, very strong level of resistance that is now going to be a nice level of support. Looking at the volume, we see more volume accumulation. We see more buy volume coming into the market on the moves to the upside. Then we do see sell volume on the moves to the downside, which is an indication that it's volume accumulation. Buyers are purchasing and holding the pair instead of distributing it into the market, selling it and not trying to hold it. So overall, it looks pretty good. I am just going to patiently wait until we potentially find another support here. It does look like on the 4 hour, let's just zoom in here. We still have about an hour, a little over an hour and a half until this candle closes, but it looks pretty bullish. We haven't seen it close green yet, other than that first injection of buy volume. But this current candle that we're in, which still has about an hour and a half left, looks like there is a significant amount of buy volume pushing it up. We see that the candle did go all the way down to around 9,600, but it does look like within that same 4 hour time span, we could see it close back up to around 98, which would be a pretty significant move back up, showing that there's lots of buy pressure within the market, keeping the price above a certain zone, which is our zone of confluence. So we want to be ensured that there are buyers within the area. This is the second real major test. So we got our first breakout at this point, and then we got our first major test of this zone of confluence. We really, really respected it well. We got 2 injections of buy volume. This is our first injection of buy volume, and you get 2 in right here. And then we did get a drop, but we didn't get a drop below the low of the wick right there. So this is just a double bottom. It hasn't confirmed to be a double bottom, signifying that there are a lot of buyers within this area right around here. So for me, that is a really, really good indication that we could see more buyers. And then we saw our first injection of buy pressure right there. And unfortunately, we did create a lower low, it seems like, because that was the market structured low for the bodies of the candles. And unless this candle closes where it opened or higher, we're basically going to get a lower low. But overall, it still looks... Hello, Donald Pompier, he said. Welcome to the chat. So overall, it still does look bullish in my view, because we're still above this zone of confluence here. Even if we do get the price to maybe test these lows again, or these lows. So as long as the price is above $9,600, I'm looking for a nice long opportunity. But I'm not just looking to long. I'm waiting. I'm patiently waiting. I'm a sniper waiting for the good, right opportunity before I actually look to enter. And we'll talk about that on the hour chart. But the 4 hour does really give a good illustration of how I view the markets at this point in time. And then on the weekly chart, you'll see the reason why we think that this area is a level of support. So we really, really integrate bigger time frames into the smaller time frames. So this is the reason why we're looking to use this as a key level of support. So we got our anchor point, which is at the very top left corner right here. This is the all-time high at just, let's say, under 20K. Just gonna get some coffee here. And then we see the first descending zone right here, and then we got our second. The first one was used as a candle closure, so the body of the candle actually closed right on the zone multiple times, and then we saw a wick closure with a type A just touching this zone, rejecting it instantly right off. that for me is a signification of a zone of sensitivity. So we can say, okay, yeah, this is a potential zone of sensitivity in the future if we are able to see the price come up to this zone again. And that's exactly what we saw. And then it was also a zone of confluence because we see a resistance, we see a support resistance, and then a resistance again, signifying a very strong zone of sensitivity within that area in the chart. And then what did we do? We broke above this zone, and now we're retesting it. And once it's validated for a nice new level of support, then I think we will gain and see that buy volume come into the market and push the price up to our next zone of sensitivity. So that's what I see in the market overall. I'm still looking for longs. I'm not looking for shorts, even with the short-term bearish volume that we've been seeing in the market. And now we'll go to the 1 hour chart to kind of discuss potential entries that we could see. It's not ready just yet, obviously. We don't really have an entry signal at this point in time. We do need to see the market kind of funnel in closer to our apex of the price action pattern. So let's just first talk about what we're looking to see, and then we'll kind of draw in different trend lines to assess different anchor points, because this could be an anchor point right here. This could be an anchor point right here. We could put the trend line to this point right here and then put a projection over this zone. We have a couple of ways that we could structure this. I wish that this lower high was a little bit higher. That would have been a really good situation, because then we would have been able to maybe connect the zones here. And if we were able to see that trend line connect a little bit higher, that would have been a good situation. But unfortunately, we didn't get it. That's all right. But overall, what we're looking for is, ideally, we want to see lower highs, but I would really like to see at least one, maybe two more touches and a rejection like so, where you get the price to come and reject off the trend line. I'd like to see two rejections to really validate this zone, so I can call it a dependable area on the chart. Once that is validated, then that is great. I'm now just waiting to see the price squeeze into the apex of the pattern. Let's say if the price kind of goes something like this, and then it bounces around within the zone, holding this nice level of support, this zone right here. I'm just going to make it very clean and easy to understand. So we got two zones that we're holding. We're holding the horizontal zone and we're holding the descending zone. So right now we're just bouncing from resistance to support. Let's say we do something like this. And we get a couple more touches of the resistance, so we can say, yes, it's a dependable zone that we can use. What we're now looking for is the price to break, form a new higher high. So this was a previous high. What we're looking for is for the price to form a higher high, so the market structure is shifting. So let's say the price makes a higher high, and then we're looking for the price to make a higher low. Because this is a low, let's say this is a bit of a higher low, you're looking for the price to push up and make a bit of a higher low, probably going to be some level of a test of a resistance or previous level of support, some level of sensitivity. That's what you're looking for. And once you see the descending zone break, that's the first confirmation. Two, the market structure is shifting. That's another level of confirmation. And three, once you see that test of the higher low form and you see the double confirmation injections or triple confirmation injections, that's also another level of confluence. And you can also see in the larger structure of the price action, looking at the 4 hour, daily, weekly, you can see the overall market is in a bullish trend. You're holding a strong level of support. There's a lot of confluence going into a single trade, and that's what you're looking for. So if that does come up, that's great. We have a very strong edge if that does arise. But at this point in time, we're not going to enter any trades in BTC, because all we have is a potential double bottom where one bottom is lower than the other, not even, because it's a lower low. I don't really have much of an edge trading this situation right now, because I don't really have a squeeze. I don't have any real nice market structure at this point. We are holding a previous level of resistance, new level of support, and theoretically, yeah, you could just long here and put your stop loss below this zone. But for me, I like to have a little bit more depth into what I trade, and we just discussed over how I would be looking at the market for both a long and a short, because we went over the two head and shoulders on the short, and then we went over the potential long opportunity we could have if we do have those lower highs come in, like we ideally would like to see. And it's not like it's the first time it's happened before. It's definitely happened before. Let's just take a look back over here. Exact same situation we had in, I believe, late January here. Yep, 20th to 27th. We see the price form a high, push up, and then we start seeing a consolidation form these lower highs and lower lows. This is a high, This is a low, this is a lower high, this is a lower low, this is a lower high, this is a lower low, and then the price holds a previous level of resistance right around here as a new level of support. The price gets a squeeze, and what happens after a squeeze? We just look for a break on whichever side that the price is going to break. On this situation, we broke the descending trend line, making a move to the upside. What do we see first? A market high. This is going to be a new market high because the previous market high, well, let's just close all this. The previous market high was going to be right here. And then what do we do? Previous resistance, new level of support. After validation that there's buyers within the market, we see the price hold with 2 1-hour candles and then a bullish move up with a bullish engulfing candle, breaking the previous high of the market structure. That for me, I definitely put a trade in, at least minimum a feeler trade in at that point in time if I was looking to trade in a particular situation like this. In this actual exact point in time, I was short here because I wanted to get some hedge in the market while I was longing alts, and then once this exploded to the upside, we broke this trade out for a break-even trade, and then we made money on our alts. So that's how we traded the situation, because we didn't know for sure which way we were going to break within the squeezing of the price. We could have broken to the downside more, but we wanted to get a hedge, so we hedged right here after the double top right there after breaking this previous level of support there, and we entered a short right there, and we saw the price come down to our previous level of support. We were waiting to see the price break the zone. Once we saw the price break the zone, we entered long on our alts, and then we just waited until this hit our stop loss at a break even, and that's how we managed this situation in late January. So discussing the structure for what could happen, basically that's a prime example of what could be potential up here. We still have a couple, like we see a touch rejection right here, a rejection right here. So ideally, we'd like to see a couple more rejections come in before we're looking to long, but we have multiple options here that we could have play out. We have the two head and shoulders here, the larger one market structure and the smaller market structure, and then we have the 1-hour time frame play out with the nice descending trendline breakout, where we have the market structure change from starting to create lower highs and lower lows to now creating higher highs and higher lows, and we're trying to enter basically at the shift from the descending zone to now another move towards the upside. So we'll now go to the tools that we have within our tool chest to assess the buyers and sellers within the market. But first, I'm just going to have a quick drink of coffee here. All right, so for those who are maybe new to the chat, also you can just write a comment within the chat below, or to the right, I think it might be, for desktop, and then I'll be able to answer any questions you have. This is absolutely live, so you can just if they're relevant to the video, I'll definitely be sure to answer them. So now we're gonna go and discuss the longs and shorts within the market, the comparison with the buyers and sellers. So let's just discuss this a little bit here. So we have the candles, which are going to be representing the buyers in the market. So this represents the bulls, and this represents the bears or sellers. So what this is this is going to give you the amount of longs that were opened right here versus the shorts that were opened. So it kind of gives you a good representation of the confidence from the buyers and sellers just on the Bitfinex exchange. And what we're going to do is we are going to be looking at different exchanges in a little bit. But we do like to have a visual representation of a chart before we go into our next tool, which will just be a 24-hour and an hour capture of the buyers and sellers within the market. So let's start and just see what happened here. We were talking about this top at this resistance right here, where we hit back in late 2019, basically the late December 2019, we hit that top after the really strong move from the reverse head and shoulders breakout, and it looks like we are really testing that top perfectly. So this could indicate a little bit of a pullback here, which is for us what we're looking at, what we're seeing. And we don't mind, because we're looking for those lower highs and lower lows. That is going to connect the lower highs with the descending trend line. So that is what we're looking for. So this does look very aggressive of a move. This sell-off from here to here, where the buyers just basically took a lot of their profits and then the sellers really came in, and then the buyers came back and swooped the price back up. That does look like an aggressive move, but look where the actual move is. It's basically from, let's see, December 23rd to January 16th. So let's look on here. December 23rd to January 16th, 13th, 16th. So this is where the significant portion of the sellers were. And once we saw the push from the reverse head and shoulders push up, we saw that a lot of the sellers just completely took off a lot of their positions. The buyers took off a lot of their positions, but so did the sellers, right? So then the price was sort of in equilibrium, because at this point between, where we have our trend lines, we don't see a lot of buyers enter the market, but you also don't see a lot of sellers enter the market either, which just makes sense because there's not a lot of volume being transacted in that situation. So it's not just looking at the buyers, not just looking at the sellers, it's looking at the comparison. For example, if you see a massive spike down like we see here from the sellers, you know that a lot of the confidence is lost from the sellers. And same thing goes for the buyers. You see a lot of their confidence is lost, and you need a significant break in trend in the market structure to see higher highs and higher lows before you can kind of start to see the momentum shift back towards the intended direction. And that's what you see right here. You see a bit of a shift where the market structure shifted from the bears finally losing strength to now the bulls gaining back towards the upside. But yeah, a little different. You see the sell side, or you see the lack of buyers in the market taking a lot of profits, but within the same time frame, you see the bulls start to come in. Pretty interesting. It's not going to be absolutely perfect, but it does still have a pretty good correlation in my view. But now let's look at the more current price action. I just wanted to see how the correlation was between that massive move down here, because if we do see that similar structure appear, where you see this massive whipsaw action from the highs here to the lows, you never know what could appear, but that was a very significant shift from the bulls, really showing a lot of strength, to then taking a lot of profit, not seeing a lot more buyers enter the market, and then holding a nice previous level of resistance as a new level of support, and then you see the next significant wave of buyers, and then it looks like we are pulling back here pretty well, perfectly with the previous resistance. So it's lining up pretty well, in my opinion, with where we are right now, because we could see just a horizontal consolidation like we were talking about within this zone. Like this consolidation could theoretically be, let's just look, 3-4 days. You never know. And the breakdown from the high here to the low is 8 days. So we could see a little bit of a consolidation, a break, and then a pullback. That could be another day or 2 days. We don't exactly know, but and then the next wave could come in really driving us higher in price in the next zone of supply. So we'll see how it goes, but it's looking pretty good. Now for the short side, we're not seeing the sellers gain a lot of confidence, which is good for our long bias. This is the sell side here. This is just to look at the buyers in the market. This is going to show the confidence from the buy side, whereas the lower side here is going to show the confidence from the sell side. So we've been seeing a very strong move of this key zone right here, previous level of support, where the sellers had quite a bit of confidence basically from the start of 2019 until the end of middle of 2019, when we had our massive bullish push to the upside. The sellers really lost all confidence, and then now we've been holding this previous resistance as a new level of support. So that's a first indication that the sellers are losing confidence, which is good for the buyers or the bulls. So then we've been seeing a high here. We can see it right here. This is a high, this is high, and we've been seeing a bit of a lower high situation, but we've been holding this zone pretty well for a level of support or level of resistance, sorry. So it does look like we are nearing that zone, which could indicate a level of resistance, obviously, which means that the price could be hesitating to go above this key zone, which wouldn't be a bad thing. But we'll see. In the previous move to the downside, where we got the buyers to kind of lose a little bit of their confidence and take a breath before the next market push, we didn't really see a lot of sellers come in and try to gain back that confidence. Normally, if you're kind of in a consolidating phase, or you're not really seeing one side of the market take a massive push in push pressure within the market. So if we're not seeing like very, very trending higher highs or very, very trending lower lows, you won't really get this. You'll get, like, let's say if the buyers lose confidence, the sellers will definitely gain a lot of confidence because the buyers are losing confidence. So you'll see the sellers gain more confidence as the buyers lose confidence. So it's kind of it ebbs and flows, the confidence. But what you see in this current market is even with the buyers seeing a loss in confidence, we can see right here, there is not that many sellers come in the market and say, hey, you can see that the sellers are losing confidence. Let's try to fight back. Let's try to win the battle. Let's try to push the price down. Let's try to make money on the way down. You're not seeing that conviction and the confidence and the ability to kind of risk money on the table to potentially see the price go in your favor. You're not really seeing any of that confidence from the sellers, which could indicate that the price could just continue to go up in the near future. That doesn't mean that we're going to have resistances. We will obviously see resistances, but overall within the market, we do see a weakness, in my opinion, from the sellers, and we see a strength still continuing in the bulls. So that's a visual representation of what we are going to be talking about next, which is going to be a analysis on different exchanges within the market. Also, we have 11 people. I think this is the most we've ever had. I think we have 13 at some point. But if you have a question, please drop it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. I'm just going to have a drink of coffee before our next analysis, looking at the different exchanges within the market. All right. Gotta love the Sunday coffee. So we have 3 different exchanges that we'll be taking a look at. We are really only going to be incorporating 3 into our analysis. We have BitMEX, Binance, and Bybit. Why are we incorporating those 3 and not number 4 and number 5? It's because they don't really have enough volume for us to warrant looking at. Yeah, we will look at it, but the main 3 that we're going to be looking at is BitMEX with a tremendous amount of volume. We also see Binance and BitMEX come in with decent amounts as well. And then you don't really see Bitfinex even come close to those 3. And that's why we don't look at the smaller volumes. They don't have as many transactions. They don't really have that much merit to them to look at compared to the 3 larger exchanges that we're able to see. So someone said, US man said, is it a good time to sell? So look at the previous analysis. This isn't formal financial advice, but this is just a random person on the internet who really, really likes to follow BTC and the price action of BTC thinks. So I personally think that we will still continue to go up. I have no idea what your investment or trading strategies are. If you are an investor, if you are looking at the long term, obviously it's a really, really bad time to sell right now. I would hold on at least until the end of this year if you are looking to, but I personally don't like selling BTC. I think that the appreciation risk reward parameters for BTC are very asymmetric, meaning that there is a tremendous reward potential compared to the level of risk that is currently with Bitcoin. So I'm a pretty biased person to ask in my view at this very moment, but definitely check out the previous videos if you do want a really good understanding and analysis of what my view of the market currently is. So now let's look at the long-term 24-hour long and short positions that were open. Hopefully I was able to answer your question, US man. Definitely check out the other videos of within the channel to check out my views. So on the 24-hour time frame of the comparison versus longs and shorts within the market, we see that it's a pretty even comparison. We see a little bit more geared towards the short side. For BitMEX, we see that there's just under 52% of people on Bitfinex out of 100 that think that the price will go down. They are betting that the price will go down in price, or that the asset will go down in price. Not a huge discrepancy, but a little bit more confident towards the sellers. On Binance, similar type of situation. We see 48.8% on the buy side and 51.14% on the short side. So a little bit more confidence towards the bears. Bybit, on the other hand, very similar. Like, we don't really see huge discrepancy between any of the exchanges that we're going to be, or that we are looking at on the 24-hour time frame. But Bybit does have a little bit more towards the buy side, with 50.22 on the longs and 49.78 towards the short. A little bit of discrepancy, but not much to show for the 24-hour exchange. And then on the 1-hour exchange, this is going to be a little bit more volatile. We see that there is a significant level of buy pressure compared to the sell pressure. There's more confidence in the buy side, where for the buyers on BitMEX, there is 60% of buyers compared to only 40% on the short side on BitMEX, which is the the highest volume exchange that we're going to be looking at. On Binance, we do see yet again the buyers have control, 51.24 on the buy side and 48.7 on the sell side. Not nearly as much as BitMEX, but we do still see that there is more buy confidence within the market. And on Bybit, yet again, the buyers still showing confidence on this exchange. 66% of people think that the price is going to go towards the upside. They're betting that the price is going to go up, whereas there's only 33 or 34% of people that thinks that the price is going to go down in the near term. So overall, looking at the different tools that we have within the market, looking at the different coin farm exchanges, we do see that in the short term, the bulls have confidence. They're really holding this support area around $9,800, $9,700, and that's why we still have our bias. So it takes a little while. I know it's not fun to patiently wait and not be in a trade, not be actively looking at the market, seeing your P&L, seeing profits, or managing the trade. Trading isn't about the act of actually physically pressing numbers and managing a trade. That's not trading. Trading is looking for opportunities, and if they're not there, not entering them. And then if they are there, making sure that you're doing everything you can to follow your strict plan, actually entering it and managing it the way that you intend to manage every trade that you go into. And it's not about being in a trade, and there's a confusion because it doesn't feel right to not be in a trade, right? It makes sense. Oh, I'm a trader. I should just constantly be in a trade and to be managing it. And it makes sense if you are a day trader, if you're intraday trading, but at this point in time, we are swing traders. We don't mind holding for 2, 3, 5, 6 days in a trade, like on our TRX trade that we had that hit all 3 take profits. We were in it for 6-7 days. That's a long time, but we were slowly managing our risk to a point where we were risk free, and then we were in profits no matter what. And that's kind of what you got to do, is you got to be able to, if you're a swing trader, stick with it, stay patient. If there is a setup that looks like it's a potential, I'm not going to put a feeler trade here. There's no way in hell, right? Sorry, excuse my language, but I need to see that squeeze. I need to be able to create that edge that I know I have, and that will be the price to squeeze in. Yeah. Just give me one moment. I hope you can still hear me. That is basically the end of the analysis here. What we will be doing is we will be going over a cryptocurrency altcoin market analysis. We'll be doing different altcoins within the market. Like we can see, we have many different altcoins that we are covering, and we'll just discuss and go over the plethora of altcoins that we have within our many tabs. So unfortunately, that didn't end off in a perfect situation. Kind of got cut off, unfortunately, for the people who are watching, and then they kind of midway left. But I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I hope you got something from it. I hope it provided you with some value for your Sunday morning. Great. I'm happy that it's working at this point in time. I'll definitely try to check it out and make sure that the network connection is high before I start the next video, which will be starting very shortly. I'll probably get another glass of coffee before we start it. But yeah, thank you very much for coming to these daily. I definitely know that I lag for about 40 seconds. A little weird. I'll check it before starting the next one. But thank you very much for coming to the YouTube Live. We always appreciate people that are dropping in while we're actually conducting it. If you got some value from it, if you thought it was interesting, subscribe if you enjoy our content. Definitely check out our Discord if you're not in it already. We post very, very frequently. We post every single YouTube video and YouTube live before we actually start it within the Discord, so you have a good understanding of when we're going to be actually having these. And then also we do host webinars and discussions sometimes for just random times. And then if you ever want to drop in, you can definitely talk to us and ask any questions you have, discuss about trading, entrepreneurship, investing in the cryptocurrency market, blockchain, all this stuff. We love talking about it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. I will be doing another YouTube live very, very shortly, and the next one will be very, very long compared to this one. It'll be like an hour-ish, maybe like a little bit over an hour. We'll be going over the different markets or different altcoins within the cryptocurrency market. So yeah, definitely check that one out if you have the time. So until next time, happy trading.